The reality is that a lot of the work that's being done in marketing and sales has the characteristic of being fruitless. Like Lean Labs did some research and they found out that 84% of marketing campaigns barely break even. That means that all the labor that went into them, all the creative, the cost, the management expense or the budget that went into that is like barely recouped, if at all. And so that's fruitless. And also in the world of marketing and sales, there's tons of people who are stressed out, overworked, and when it comes down to it's mostly toil. And the business managers that lead them are having the same experience. The idea is if I work harder, maybe I'll get more done. But the truth is just toil, no profit. And so we have to bring this idea of accomplishing good, hard things. It's not possible to accomplish good, hard things if you don't live to tell about it, because you are working so hard in such a frustrated, stressed out way that you don't even survive it.